What is up, Empire Builders? Welcome to this week's Weekend Reads. Yeah, that's right. This is the weekend, and we're going to catch you up on what's going on through the week, the emails that we sent out. If you want to follow along, you can. It's very simple. You just go over to empirealerts.substack.com. That link is underneath this video, and you subscribe. It's free. You just put in your email address, and boom, every single day you get one of these bad boys sent to your inbox. Okay, so it's mostly geared around macro economy, but as you can see on the screen, if you're watching, you can listen to. You don't have to watch. You can just listen. Is that Monday of the week, we started off with a topic that's not so sexy, which is how to build confidence. Now, what the hell does this have to do with the macro economy? Well, it micro reflects on the macro and vice versa. So inside out and outside in is definitely reigns true, and confidence is very, very important. So confidence is important because you as a solo investor building your empire, building your legacy, building your portfolio, whatever you want to call it, okay? You being a individual, confidence plays a huge role in what you do every single day, how you respond, how you react, right? Like if you bought Bitcoin at 11,000 and it's $10,412 right now, how would you be feeling? Would you have strong hands? You know, and based on what happened to you this week, would you still have strong hands, right? The conversations you had, maybe the lack of follow through on your commitments that you made to yourself and to the world around you, you know, how confident are you feeling right now in that position? If you bought gold at 1,500 and let's say it drops down all the way back down to 1,300 temporarily, would you still be feeling good about that position? And then add life onto that, would you still be feeling good, right? So confidence affects everything. And it's not a sexy topic. It's actually something that, like, if you go to the bookstore, would you want to be seen picking out a book that's like how to build confidence for dummies, like one of the dummies guides, or, you know, just any book that states confidence on the cover? Would you feel good about holding that book in line in a full store and checking out, you know, because everyone's going to be looking at you and being like, oh, well, he's buying a book on confidence. Does that mean he's not confident? Right? Like, isn't that so silly? It's so stupid. And we all fall for that shit because one of the biggest fallacies that we fall for is comparison bias. And, you know, guys, how we do it is, you know, what's that guy got? How's he stunting? Like, what's his Instagram look like? How's he dressed? What's his muscles look like? What kind of car does he drive? You know, how much money is he making? What's his girl look like? You know, we compare the dumbest stuff, guys, right? And I could go deeper, but I won't, okay? Girls, you know, for girls, I think, depending on the woman, it's going to be different, but similarities, right? Like, how's the guy look? You know, is he nice to her? Like, is he opening a door for her, right? How's he treating her? What's she getting in this life? And is she strong? Is she independent? Like, what's she doing? How's her butt look? How's her body look? How's her shape look? You know, similar between both races or both genders, but equally as silly, okay? So we compare ourselves to not only each other, but to perfection. We hold ourselves to this standard, this impossible standard that we can never win. All right? And that's good for drive, bad for times when your confidence is low and you've been beaten up for the week. That's when that doesn't really benefit you the same because it's harder to transmute that feeling, right? So anyways, what we went through on Monday was the two simple parts building confidence. First, you got to fulfill promises to yourself. Now, people think when it comes to building confidence, that's one of the last things they think about. But when you wake up at 5 a.m. every single day this week because you told yourself you're gonna, when you put in an hour every single day to learn how to trade and you told yourself you're gonna, those are wins. Those are micro wins. Again, coming back to it, micro creates the macro. So these micro commitments every single day, like waking up at a certain time, hitting the gym. Maybe I'm going to do intermittent fasting. Maybe I'm just going to diet. Maybe I'm just going to track my calories. Maybe I'm going to dress a certain way. Maybe I'm going to open up 5 conversations on the subway on the way to work with people just to be friendly, just because as I see all these messages on social media saying that the world is on fire and that there's all this hate, I don't believe that, and so I want to spread love. So I'm just going to be nice and smile to 5 people and say, hey, how you doing today? And care about somebody else other than myself. Or I'm going to open a door for 5 people this week. I'm going to pay for the coffee behind me for 5 people this week. All those little basic things that are so cheap but so expensive and the toll is so heavy on your inside feelings, internal feelings. That's when you really start winning in life. And it could be that simple. When you go to visit your friends or family, bring something with you. Bring a note, bring a message, bring a feeling with you. Bring a flower, bring something with you, right? Those are the commitments, the micro commitments that every single day you do it. By the end of the week, you are more confident. You are stronger. You are more empowered. Okay, it's that simple. And it works the other way too. Like I said I was going to wake up at 5 a.m. every day this week, but you know what? By Tuesday, I stayed up late because that's what I've been doing, and I couldn't get to bed in time. And then Tuesday, I kind of started to slip a little bit. I woke up at 7, and by Wednesday, I'm sleeping until 10 again. By the end of the week, I'm just super sad and back to eating pizza, right? Like it works both ways, because when you continually break commitments to yourself, you think deep down, subconsciously, gosh, I can't do anything. Do you think that you're going to go out and win trades feeling like that? Do you think you're going to go out and discern and think logically? Or are you going to be emotional? And this affects everything. This affects everything that you do. It affects your food choices, where you're going to eat, what you're going to do, who you're going to talk to. Are you going to follow up with people? Are you going to make those sales calls? Are you going to put into trades this week? Are you going to put into research to make the trades this week? Right? You getting it? Okay. All right. I think that's enough. Part 2, stop caring what other people think. This is one that I had the hardest time with until I started traveling the world. And when I started traveling the world and I realized that like this microcosm that is America, and how we are so vain and how we judge each other based on how we look and what we're dressed like and how much this and how much that, I just realized like, wow, that's so silly. And it took that, for me to kind of shed that. So I don't know what it'll take for you, but really, you just have to realize that the rest of the world does not play this game that America plays. And if you're outside of America, then I'm sure you've got your own stereotypes. Maybe you need to get out of that area, get out of the physical geolocation for a little bit and go travel around. Traveling is cheap enough, with rewards points on your credit cards, all the way to, flash deals. What is it? Scott's Cheap Flights, I think, still exists. That's one of the old school hacks I used to use back in the day to travel around with super cheap flights internationally. So many options now for you to just get out and explore yourself and the world around you. And those both build confidence, because you need to let go of what other people think. You need to stop trying to live up to these imaginary standards based on eyeballs that are not your own. Okay? Got to look yourself in the mirror every single day and be happy with what you got. Okay? Next, Tuesday rolls around, and I was following up with news on the Argentinian peso, which at the worst, 62 pesos for every dollar. I think it's down to 50 something now, 52 or 58, I want to say. I didn't check it before shooting. That's okay. So anyways, why this is all happening is because there is new elections coming up. A lot of opinions flying on what the true intentions are, but Argentina has a new debt that it pulled out with the IMF, so they got to watch what they're doing here with all this, because they've got fresh debt with central banks and their economy is not doing good. They need somebody who's really going to be strong enough to stand up and guide this ship and take it in a new direction. And it is curious to me, I haven't dug into this deep enough, why so many South American countries struggle. Not a single one of them should be struggling. They all offer something insanely unique, from Machu Picchu in Peru and the size of the tourist attraction that could be, and how it could be leveraged and monopolized and commoditized, I guess, a little bit better than it is, to there's wonders in Chile. There are amazing things in Argentina, Brazil. Every single one of those countries has the ability to rise above. I think it's interesting that they haven't. Okay, so what else did I put here? Yeah, we got their index. All right, here's the history from 92 to 2019. It went down. It dropped from $62, but you see it's gradually been on the rise. Yeah, so there you go. Argentinian peso dropped. Oops, there we go. And next, we have another yield curve inversion, which I shot a video about earlier this week. You guys check that out, I'm sure. The 2-year toppled the 10-year. Okay, here's what I want to say about this, and this is going to become a topic that I talk about very, very more and more, okay, as time goes on, is here's what's interesting. We've never lived in a time where there was so much social media attention about the U.S. economy and how that affects the global economy, but also too the global economy. Because Twitter and all this stuff existed back during the 2009 crisis, didn't it? Yeah, I don't know. Fact check me on that, or maybe I'll fact check that in post, make sure I don't sound retarded. But social media did exist back then, at least at a basic level. I think MySpace was around back then. Because 2000, when did Facebook hit? Whatever, who cares? Social media existed. Now, the attention wasn't on it, though, because it wasn't really a sexy topic. And one could argue that Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies has helped make economics sexy again, okay? Economists were pretty boring, and that whole market and that whole niche was pretty boring. And then all of a sudden you have a bunch of really young kids, cyberpunks, let's call them, come along and, all the way up into 30s and 40s age group, come along into this Bitcoin and this crypto stuff, and now all of a sudden everyone is very, very interested in the economy, which I think is amazing. I think to learn the economy and how economics work through, it doesn't matter what led you there, the fact that you're learning it I think is great, okay? And all the different styles and Dow theory and how markets work and market cycles, all that is very important, because obviously we're not doing a good enough job. 200 years of the stock market and 99% of people still lose their ass. We're not winning, okay? We're not doing a good enough job. So the information needs to get cleaned up. We need to stop hiding everything and masking it behind secrets and 3 steps and 5 steps of this, and we just need to help people make more money. There's enough to go around. So here is my challenge to you with all the inversions, okay? There's so many that have hit now. Well, 3 that have hit just in the United States, and there's a whole growing list of inversions and curves happening around the whole world. With the amount of tension it's getting, all the way down to the president tweeting about it all the time, will it still happen? Will the yield curve still lead to recession if everyone knows that, or if everyone thinks a recession is coming? This is called a contrarian trade. If you're not familiar with it, it means that you counter trade what everyone else is doing. And this makes you a lot of money, okay? Because there are a lot of people that are betting against the economy right now. And there are a lot of people who are shorting the different aspects of the economy and different bubbles that they think are going to pop, okay? Now, that all worked just fine in 2006, right? Could we go and duplicate those same trades in those same plays now? That's the question. And I'm not going to say my opinion. I'm just going to leave it there, okay? So I'm sure I'm gonna get all kinds of comments on this from the keyboard warriors, I call them, but these are basically people who sit around all day long and wait for videos like this to drop so that they can share what they think is gonna happen with such definite truth. And what's interesting to me is that if you felt that way, then why aren't you going out and trying to make more people aware of your opinion? And how come you are online doing this? Is everyone in your personal life sick of hearing it, maybe? And hearing about how you've got the solution, but you've not really done anything with it. To me, that's kind of annoying. Stop it. If you've got something that you believe to be a solution to a problem, then get out there and talk about it. Stop anonymously commenting on people's shit with like you've got it all figured out. That's really annoying to me. And it's disingenuous, okay? So if you've got something that you feel will solve the world or solve a problem, then you get your fucking ass out there and you start screaming it from the rooftops, not in the comments section, all right? All right, so the last 5 2 to 10 inversions have eventually led to recessions. A recession occurs on average 22 months following the 2 to 10 inversion. The S&P 500 is up on average 12% 1 year after the 2 to 10 inversion. So wouldn't now be a good time to buy in the S&P 500 if I'm maybe gonna make, possibly, kind of, sorta, probably gonna make 12% 1 year after? Again, here's what's funny about this. This is what's funny about bias, okay? You'll have people that say, yes, it's gonna happen, Jay. I know for a fact because every other time it happened. And this time will not be different, okay? It's gonna happen the same way. Then why aren't you betting on the S&P right now? So you're going to avoid 12% gains? And then, okay, my second question is, what are you doing about it? Are you then shorting the market? Or are you just talking shit? I find it very curious that a lot of these people that will go around and parade this stuff and say, no, you don't understand. It's going to be the end of the world. I just bought Jim Brickert's Aftermath book, and he gets it. He understands. Great. So then you're shorting. No? So what are you doing? And if your answer is you built a bunker in your backyard and you're sitting on old gold and silver, then what are you going to do about capital controls? What are you going to do about that? Well, I got my gun. The mindset mentality of these different personalities is very, very troubling to me, because even with that one, like, I just feel like people don't play it through to conclusion. Okay, great. The only option in your mind is gold and the bunker in your backyard and 2 years of food from Costco or from Patriot Supply or wherever you bought it from. Got it. Good. Okay, so what happens under capital controls? Well, they'll never take my gold. Cool. So then you're going to die for your gold? So then what is the point? What is the point, guys? Does anyone actually ever play that through? They'll never take my gold. I got my guns. So where does it end then? You died for your gold. Great. Yeah, anyway. Okay, so here's what I suggested is, and this is something that, again, I'm going to start to talk about more and more because I realized less and less people are getting it. You need to have cash flow businesses. How can you prepare yourself, okay, for this? Let's say 2020 is a recession. You got people on both sides. It's going to be a small one. It's going to be the mother. It's going to be the greatest recession of all time. It's going to be so horrible. There's going to be bread lines, and it's going to be everyone's eating each other in the streets. Okay, so what are you doing? How are you preparing for it? Well, what I see is no matter how bad it gets, people will still need stuff. And even if there is a demographic of people who are poor and can't buy shit, there will still be a demographic of people who can, okay? Because usually if you believe that it's going to be the worst and it's going to be apocalyptic, then you do believe that there's also the middle class is gone. But they're still going to be rich. Somebody needs to sell to the rich. So the rich don't just sell to the rich. Anyone can sell to the rich or to this quote-unquote rich, okay? They'll still need stuff. You'll still have access to the internet, right? Like, you got to play it through to the end. And when you play it through to the end, you kind of realize that a lot of this stuff is obnoxious. And whether or not it's true or comes true, you have to defend and set up your defense in a way that will allow you to win, and offense, okay? So offense to me, and this is partially defense too, is setting up cash flow businesses. This could be rental properties, real estate. If people are going to all fall out of their mortgages, they're going to need to rent, right? So apartment complexes, apartment buildings, senior citizen homes still make sense, right? Rental properties still make sense, right? Okay, and cash flow businesses. People are still going to need to buy stuff on the internet, right? They're still going to want shirts and clothes and clothing. So why not have cash flow businesses? Okay, so all right, to satisfy the gold bugs is, yeah, I think holding metals is smart. I think both holding metals and holding physical metals and then ETFs is both equally smart. I talk about and break that down more in the video last week. Holding Bitcoin through the May halving, I think, is smart as well. If you look at the historical data, I have a chart that's still available on my trading view. I will link it underneath the video. It basically shows what has happened historically over the last 3 halvings. And again, if we're playing the historical card game where every other time this inversion came true, then if we're applying that logic equally, wouldn't that mean that we should be holding Bitcoin through the May halving? You see how bias is such a funny thing? It's true when you want it to be true, but not when you don't want it to be true. And again, just check out my link. Go look for yourself. Every time historically it's gone up 200%, 800%. It's gone through the roof every time after the halving occurs. Okay, and this will be the first time that the halving occurs and the inflation rate is less than the global inflation rate or the United States inflation rate. Okay, which is 2.1%, I believe right now. It'll be 1.9 with Bitcoin. So the inflation rate will be less, and historically every other time there's been a halving, after the first year of halving, it has gone up X amount percentage. So if it's true up here, then it's got to be true down here, right? But yet I see a lot of these guys, they're not holding Bitcoin, and they think that it's fucking garbage, and they think it's bullshit. So you just told me that you don't even believe in your own bias. So you don't even believe in what you're believing through to the end. Getting trade lines set up so you have them. Trade lines, credit lines, you need these because they're not going to be opening up any new credit lines and trade lines. And I'd cover this more in depth in the other video I shot about this. Okay, let's move on. This was by far one of the most popular emails I've ever written. Okay, the open rate, that was insane, and the read rate was insane. So thank you for that. That's awesome. Now, what I cover in this is how news swings traditional markets. In the stock market, in the S&P 500, Dow Jones, whatever traditional market you can think of, mostly news. Okay, so it's definitely drilled and based off of news events. Okay, so the China trade tariffs have been a huge indicator to trade off of. The government shutdown in December was a huge trade opportunity. Trump's tweets used to be a huge trade opportunity. They're kind of wearing out now, only when it's just him saying something and not being backed up. So here's what I mean. is we heard about just the other day, China was going to retaliate against this new $300 billion tariff. Okay. But then Trump said, oh yeah, things are fine. You know, we're talking with China. I think we're going to be able to come to some sort of resolution. I want to see how they handle the Hong Kong situation first. And then everyone was like, yeah, Trump, you're full of shit. I'm not believing you anymore. Markets pulled back. But then somebody from the Chinese government, there's, I guess, an interview or something that leaked out, and they said that, yeah, you know what, we want to meet halfway. Markets rallied. So what does that tell us is not that Trump's tweets aren't as powerful anymore, or Powell action isn't as powerful, or Larry Kudlow action isn't as powerful, but it just proves that the market is getting a little bit smarter from the standpoint that they're just not going to accept it at face value. They need supporting evidence. So in this case, it was Trump tweeted. Trump tweeted about more tariffs. China came back and said, we're going to retaliate. Trump said, hey, we've got great, conversation flowing. I think we're going to get somewhere. Chinese people are amazing. President's great. And I hope that they can sort everything out with Hong Kong. To the some Chinese government officials said, hey, we hope we can meet halfway. Market rallied. Do you get how that's kind of shifted and changed? And these are things that you need to change. These are things that you need to pay attention to because they do swing the markets. Okay, so the news absolutely swings the markets. Quantitative easing and quantitative tightening news swings the markets. Obviously, FOMC and Fed meetings and announcements swing markets. Okay. Next, and I believe this is the last one. Biggest U.S. debt holder shifted. The latest data we've got. It used to be China, and again, you can see this as a good thing or a bad thing. But to be fair, China's been shifting up and down, back and forth all year round since last year. Okay, and so are they holding more than this time last year? No, 1191, 1112. Okay, so Japan is now the biggest holder. Which Japan is is a country I haven't really deep dove yet, but I'm going to, because you hear a lot about Japan and its current economic state. But yeah, so U.S. Treasury and security holdings is usually a good indicator in general of how things are going and the total amount held. Okay, so yeah, this was that piece. And then another piece that I'm going to break down and dive into deeper this week is just how the Eurozone and the EU is doing in general and how that's affecting, because they're doing way worse from a negative yield standpoint. They're hitting really bad numbers. So I'm going to break that down and cover all of that. But yeah, there's just a snapshot of what's going on with the Eurozone in and of itself. The UK is given a deadline of October for some sort of agreement with Brexit, or they're going to leave the EU. So there's a lot happening. We got Italy finally looking like it's trying to get back on its feet after a long amount of time that it has just consistently been dragged through the mud. It looks like they finally got some leadership that is willing to stand up and start fixing the problem instead of just avoiding it. I think a lot of guys have gotten in there and realized how bad it is throughout all of Europe, really. And how many bailouts they've gotten and how much debt they've got, and they've just overwhelmed, and maybe that's why they don't get much done. I'm hoping that shifts with some of the new leadership that we're getting out of Europe. But yeah, and that was Friday. That was it. That was the whole week. So in case you missed it, 23 minutes, there you go, summarized for you. Next week, same game, macro, every single day, Monday through Friday. I do want to clarify, because somebody asked, I don't write emails on Saturday and Sunday. So I say daily email, but it's Monday through Friday, okay? And yeah, so far I've written over 80 emails since April. Which is huge. Going back to the very first piece that I covered, how to build confidence, I wake up and one of the promises to myself is to write an email every single day. Writing 80 emails to some people might seem like a huge deal, like, oh my God, how has he done that? To some people it might not be shit. There was 2 to 3 years period of time where I wrote a daily email for different niches for marketing, and life. But overall, it's the same game. So 80 times now, I've made that commitment to myself and fulfilled it, which builds my personal power, builds my confidence with not only writing, but also with delivering value. The goal here with these emails is that the free emails that we give you are better than people's paid programs. And if you agree, then first off, just give it a like. There's this little like button at the bottom, right? You can just click this little heart, boop, just like that. And secondly, check out our premium offers, because if our free stuff is this good, just imagine how good the premium stuff is. And it really helps support us, because we don't make much money off YouTube revenue. And, the daily emails, I wake up at 3 to 5 a.m. every morning, which I do for myself. But writing these in the morning and doing all the research for these is very time intensive. And we really, really, really appreciate all the support you guys give in any sort of fashion. There are many ways that you can support us, but the easiest way would be to just share this with a friend if you like it, and subscribe to the channel. Comment below if you got something to say, and be on the lookout. More videos dropping soon. See ya.